Well, we're here at the press conference for Liam Williams' huge fight against Chris Eubank Jr. this weekend. Got Johnny Nelson alongside me. And Johnny, as we're here just 48 hours pretty much ahead of this fight, which way are you leaning?
It's a toughie because Liam's my boy, man, and I know what he's capable of doing. Liam used to train at our gym in Sheffield at Eubank. He's just left and joined forces with Adam Booth. This will be his first fight actually under Adam Booth. I was shocked when he moved gyms, but I must admit, if I was a fighter boxing at Eubank, if I was going to do a move like that, that's the move I'd make. So he's not done a bad move. Adam Booth is a tactician, a technician, just like our gym is. So it's not day and night. It's very similar. So he's done what works for him for whatever reason he's done it for. I think he'll be back. But I know Liam is. Now the old boys will remember this. You youngsters won't know what I'm talking about. So there used to be a fighter called Tony Simpson from Leicester. Tough, the guy was tough. Now I'm talking old time. This mama was tough. He didn't want to mess about like having a conversation tip. He wanted to have a tear up. That's Liam. Now I'm not saying Liam's just a brawler because Liam can box, but Liam can also fight. So it's like if you and I stood toe to toe and slinging punches, it's a case of who lands first. I'd probably land first. It's a case of who lands first. But so Liam's got to talk Chris into that kind of fight. Chris has got to try and control and contain himself, because the reason why he's got Roy Jones on board is to add a bit of boxing ability, more boxing ability, because he's a good fighter, but he needs to be a boxer as well, because when you're at world level, it's shown the two fights he's lost, he's been outboxed, so he needs to add that to his artillery. The problem is this: if Lee can talk him into having a tear with him and being there toe to toe with him, that's the worst thing for Chris. But it suits Liam down to the ground. Now I think Chris's problem is going to be he's going to go out to fight, and at times he's going to have a tear up, and he'll be like Roy be like, calm down, man, box, and so he wanted to fight, but like Roy holding back, because he's got to learn, and that's why. And that transition, I think it's the second or third fight under Roy. That transition is going to take time, but until that happens. This can either be, I think this fight will take off after around three rounds, and we're going to have a barn burner after 3 rounds, and that's what it is. I like it. I like the fight.
What do you think Adam Booth will have been able to add to Liam Williams' game in the space of just a few weeks?
Insight, obviously, because he trained Chris at one point. He'll tell him what to avoid, what Chris is good at. He'll tell him what Chris is not good at. I think he'll be able to inspire him, give him a few new additions to what he's been doing anyway. Again, he needs to add some box to his bite. And Adam's a clever guy. He's a clever guy, and he's very good at setting up a strategy. So I think with Adam and Liam, I like it. I'm cool with it. It works, and that's what I said. As I said, if I was a fighter that was leaving the Eubank gym, which I would never do, Adam is where I'd go.
How good is Chris Eubank Jr. and what have you seen so far under this new partnership with Roy Jones Jr.? Because he now does have a coach. That's something which was a bit of a criticism aimed at him in the past. He didn't really have a true trainer. Now he does. Is he a fighter you see being at a world level?
Yeah. Without a doubt, and yes or no, it's hard for people to swallow that and accept that because he's Chris Eubank Senior's son. So why shouldn't he? Because it's Chris Eubank Senior's son. Why can he not fight? Because he's Chris Eubank Senior's son. The kid can fight. He showed he can fight. He showed he's got bottle. He doesn't have to fight. Now the problem is when you've got somebody getting in there fighting, if it's for the money, then you know what their hunger and their drive is. Chris was brought up as a little rich kid with a silver spoon in his mouth. He didn't have to do this. He doesn't have to do this. So he does this because he wants to do this, which tells me you got a problem, because you're thinking, what motivates you? So there's no reason why shouldn't he be? And then, so when people are trying to knock him, saying and dismiss him, I don't get why you're doing it. The kid's shown he can fight at a certain level. The kid's shown he's got bottle. The kid's shown he belongs there. So give credit where credit's due. Can he be mixed up there with the best? He's been shouting it off for a while, and I'm quite sure when he started shouting off about Golovkin, I was one of them thinking, yeah, right. Now you've got to realistically say, look, I think he's number one with the WBC. You don't get that position for nothing. You know, he's in the top 10 in most rankings by WBO, so he deserves his position. So let's stop knocking them. Let's push these boys up and give them support.
Before I let you go, I need to ask you about Fury against White, and we've seen some huge domestic dust-ups in the last few years.
Yeah.
When you think of Froch Groves, Hay Bellew recently, and then you go back as far as even the likes of Lewis against Bruno. How does this fight rank? How big is this fight?
I love this fight. So I was looking at because I was looking at the likes of White and looking at the likes of Joshua, and I remember those two fighting, and you've got to remember what's got them to this position in their career. Those two had a rough, raw edge about them. And as fights have gone on, they've got more refined, they're boxing, they're getting the sweet science off. But a rough, raw edge is what's got them to this point now. They need to get that rough, raw edge and have that rough, raw edge. Tyson Fury has that rough, raw edge, and he's taken him with him all the way. And it's been to his downfall because he's had stick. Some of the things he said, some of the things he's done, some of the things how he's conducted his life. It's been under the spotlight, and he's under pressure, but he still can be, excuse my French, a dick. If he wants to be, but he's still got that rough edge about him. And this is what Dillian needs to do. He needs to bring some of that rough rawness back on top of his finesse. That's what AJ needs to do. Bring some of that rough rawness back on top of his finesse that he's picked up. So when Dillian and Tyson fight each other, this will be a mad-ass piece of fight because Dillian doesn't respect Fury. Dillian... And I can't say firsthand, but Dillian, he knows what has happened on more than one occasion in sparring with those two. He knows what he's capable of doing. And I must admit, until recently, this is the first time I've heard Tyson Fury call Dillian out. Because up to this point, he's never mentioned calling Dillian out.
He's almost ignored him, hasn't he?
He's always ignored him. So that to me told me more than he ever could. But Tyson Fury's proved he's the best fighter in the world. So you've got to look at that fight and think, wow, after what you've done, I'm struggling to go against it. I won't put my house on it, but he's proved he's the best fighter in the world. So you've got to give credit where credit's due. But Dillian, more fool you if you bet against him, because he's raw, man. He wants to fight for fun. And they're talking about all the situation with the purse bids and whatever. And this is Tyson Fury's words. Dillian is not a house. He's happy to call you because if he thinks you're full of it. Tyson Fury's not else. Dillian's else. What I'm saying to you is, they are fighting men. They're not. It's not about the money. So if they're saying Dillian's trying to get this, that, and the other, that ain't Dillian. That's his people. Because I know Dillian'd fight for nothing. I know Tyson Fury'd fight for nothing. So that fight, that business side of it, show business, that's the business people behind them. I know Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte want to fight. And I suppose right now, I know we've not heard anything from Dillian Whyte about the fight being on, and that tells that to me. I want to hear that for me to say yes. You know, they sort our finances. But I suppose it's like buying a car. You're gonna argue, kick the tyres. I want it a bit cheaper. There's a scratch. I want it. It's negotiation, man. Push it to the wire. So that's probably what they're doing. But I think the fight happens.
I mean, we hope it definitely takes place. We're just waiting for Dillian to say something, which I'm sure, we hope he does say something.
Yeah, but we've learned our lesson, because when we were talking about Fury against Joshua, the only person...
Too many people were talking.
Yeah. The only person that wasn't talking was Joshua. And then it got close to one and the fight fell through. So until I hear both fights talking, I will be sceptical and think, I'll wait a bit. Let's just wait. I'm going to get giddy.
Finally, before I let you go,
yep.
I want to ask you how big that fight is, though, because is it bigger than Froch Groves? Is it bigger than that? Do you go back to as far as Lewis v Bruno? It's going to fill out a stadium, but how do you compare it?
UK-wise, it's the second biggest fight we can have outside Fury, Joshua. And I think it'll be the same numbers. I think, and look at the money that it's generated in the purse bids. So that tells you one thing. The businessmen know the eyes that'll be on that fight are mad. If they're going to bid that kind of money, the eyes that'll be on that fight are ridiculous. So, of course, it's going to be as big as Froch Groves, I personally think, because it's a fight what people want to see. The only thing that won't make it happen are the restrictions in the world that's happening at the moment. But that is like, if we ain't doing it, I'm still going to go watch it. I'm going to be a fan, even if I'm in the nosebleed seats. I'm going to be like, yes, making noise. But I'm looking forward to that one.